direct from the web, it's Billy Masters Live. And now, please welcome your host, Billy Masters.
Oh my God, we're back. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Billy Masters Live. Oh my God, they're putting up the wrong date. See? I have to do everything myself here today. I don't know why. Here's the thing. Hire union workers. That's really the bottom line. What is the date? Okay. See, I have to do everything myself today. Welcome to Billy Masters Live. I am, of course, your host, Billy Masters. Today is Thursday, August 11th. Thank you for nothing, people in the tech room. And I am real. First off, I have to say, it's only been 1 day into the week, but it is a good week. I don't really know why, but for some reason, people seem to be happier. And I've been out, I've been talking to people, socially distancing, wearing the mask, the whole thing. But for whatever reason, people seem to be in a better mood. People seem to be either accepting what things are or following the rules, but whatever's going on, people seem to be doing better. So I'm better because no one's yelling at me and I'm not yelling at them. Although I am still for those of you who read this week's column up on billymasters.com, which of course you can read every week. And by the way, all of our shows are on billymasters.com/TV. This is show number 39 for those of you who are keeping track, those of you who are sticklers for details. Oh, okay. Before we even get further into this show, Thursday's show is going to be great. This is going to be our 40th show, and returning our most popular guest by viewership, Fran Drescher, is coming back. She has a documentary about her on, oh Jesus, I screwed this up already. Reelz, Reelz, the Reelz Network. I did earlier say it was the Stars Network. It's something with the Z. That's really all I can tell you. But Fran is coming back, and Max von Essen from Broadway. He has a live streaming show, I think that night, Thursday night. So he's going to be here as well. And, maybe a surprise guest or two. Next week is going to be reunion week. That's really all I can say, because it's reunions of people that you would not expect to be reunited. I know that makes no sense. And some of them, you want to hear, doesn't make sense. Some of them will be reunited for the first time. What does that mean, Billy? Well, there's going to be a special performance. I can't tell you, but Tuesday and Thursday next week. So if you read this week's column, you know that I am constantly in a state of turmoil when The View is on hiatus. They take a day off. My whole week is over. So they're on break till Labor Day. So is The Talk. That doesn't bother me quite as much because, it's The Talk. But The View, I need to start my day. So there's no View. There's no Talk. But yesterday, they had a repeat of The Talk with my good friend, Brigitte Nielsen. And she was talking about her former mother-in-law, Jackie Stallone. I love Jackie Stallone. I know this makes no sense because she's crazy. I believe she's 97. And if any of you saw Celebrity Big Brother from the UK, when they threw Jackie Stallone and Brigitte Nielsen into a house together, the best television show I've ever seen in my entire life. I know that sounds crazy, but you got to remember when Brigitte was married to Sylvester Stallone, Jackie hated her. She called her a whore clown. She just said these horrible things about her. And now, 30 years later, Brigitte's ex-mother-in-law shows up in the house. French and Saunders did a skit about it. It was hysterical. Turns out it was great. If those of you who've gone through therapy, when you're told to go back and either make amends with somebody or put a situation to rest or whatever. That's exactly what happened. And they both came out of the house better people. There is somebody in New York watching this thinking, I don't care what you say, Billy Masters. I'm never talking to you again. Fine, you're holding on to that anger. But anyway, so when I met Jackie Stallone for the first time, I've met her a few times. I went up to her. I was so excited. She couldn't believe that somebody was that excited to meet Jackie Stallone. Because after all, she's Jackie Stallone. But I asked if we could take a photo together. And Brigitte on the talk yesterday reminded me of this. So this is me and Jackie Stallone. This makes me so happy because she's like 90 there. Obviously, I have a different color hair. But anyway, and so when Brigitte, the fast forward to the story is these people who are mortal enemies, Guidi and Jackie. When Brigitte gave birth to her daughter a year ago, one of the first people she introduced her daughter to was Jackie Stallone. Drove to the house, spent the day with her. So there's hope for everybody. If Guidi and Jackie can be friends, anything is possible. Okay. All right. Our guest is fixing her hair. There. Do you like your hair? She's looking around. She's trying to get her lighting. I see you putting your headphones in. Yes. Hello. She's got the best smile. Okay. Our guest today, this is somebody I'm so excited to talk to because I met her very, very, very briefly after a performance of Hedwig where she was playing Yitzhak, but she is historic, but we got so much to talk about. And the more I read about her, she is a fascinating person. I already knew she was incredibly talented. We have so many mutual friends who just kept saying to me, you've got to talk to her because she's just so fascinating. So I am thrilled. Oh God, I'm going to take the banner off. I'm so thrilled. I'll take the banner off to have as our guest today, Lena Hall. Hello, Lena.
Hello, how are you?
Or should I say Selena?
Whatever you prefer, whichever you like.
That I'm going to just start there because that's really such an interesting story. What is your birth name?
My birth name is Selena Consuela Gabriela Carvajal. So
Okay.
I am of Spanish Filipino descent, but I'm also
And a little
Swedish,
bit of other things
German.
in there too.
Oh, many, many things. Swedish, German, Irish, Scottish, everything.
And when I first saw you, and I had said this to your manager, I first saw you on the reality show to cast the musical version of Legally Blonde.
Yes.
And you weren't Lena Hall.
No, I was Selena. I had red hair. I hadn't changed my name yet. That was something that came a little later in my career. So at that point, I was still Selena Carvajal. But I was holding on to something that was a kind of because my family on my father's side, we go 7 generations back of all these artists.
Wow.
So I have a great aunt who was a famous film monster in the Philippines. And my grandfather was a painter and a hypnotist. And
wow.
Yeah, and also he was a magician, and then there was an opera singer, and it goes back and back and back. And so I was holding on to Carvajal because, the lineage, and I thought, my family name, keep my family name. And then we found out that Carvajal was actually a stage name taken 7 generations back, and I was like,
it's not even a name.
So it's not even our family name. Our family name is Garcia. And so I was like, well, I guess my ancestry and my heritage would totally understand and want me to take a stage name that was more, kind of more of what I was going for. I wanted a name that sounded more like a rocker, like a rock star, like something sweet, short, easy to spell. And that was like, symmetrical and all kinds of things.
Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, because it's again both first and last name is short.
Yeah, short and sweet, 4 letters, easy to spell. The one thing I was coming against around whenever I would do shows and things like that is people couldn't pronounce my name. They couldn't remember it either because they couldn't
Oh.
pronounce it. They couldn't spell it. If they wanted to look me up, they couldn't find me. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and streamline this. I had asked a lot of people in the business for their opinions. And there was one person who was just like, just change it across the board because I was already going by Lena Hall with my band.
Oh,
You
you
know what I mean?
were?
Yeah, yeah, and I liked that name, so,
And in
so
a way, it's the name you're giving yourself, so it's not, like, imposed on you by anybody.
yeah, exactly, and it's also a shortening of the first and last name, so Selena, Lena, and
Oh,
Carvajal Hall, just
right.
spelled without a J, but,
Had anyone we had when you grew up, did people call you Lena, or did you have a nickname?
yeah, people called me Lena, but mostly people called me Selena Wiener or Trouble or
So you wanted to get away from that.
yeah. Yeah, so I gave myself my own nickname and
And, any regrets? Because
no, not at all.
this was right before was it before your Broadway debut? When did you do it?
No, no, my Broadway debut was ages ago. So my Broadway debut, I was 19, I was in Cats.
Oh god, that's right.
And then I made a career for myself. I was on my 4th Broadway show as Selena Carvajal.
Mhm.
And then I went and I came back because I took a hiatus for a minute from Broadway. And then I came back and did Kinky Boots on Broadway. And in the middle of Kinky Boots, I decided to change my name in the middle of the run. And people were like, "You're insane. What are you doing? You've completely like set yourself up for your career with your name and da da da." I was like, "Trust me, I think this will be better." So then I did Hedwig.
Mhm.
And it kind
Right
of
from the start as Lena.
yeah, and it solidified the idea that Lena Hall was kind of like this persona that I had wanted, this rock star vibe to it. So it worked out the way I had planned, which is really
And
good.
you said that you had always been singing with your band as Lena Hall. Was there an idea of, like, keeping both careers separate?
Yeah, at first it was like playing a character in the band. I mean, the band started off as Cocaine the Band and I was Coco Kane. And we were like
Oh, that's a good
wild.
name.
Yeah, we were wild, like 1980s. The guys were all in like the Miami Vice look with mullets, and I was like, I looked like Dale Bozio with the big, huge
Oh
blonde
my god.
hair, and
Were
it
you
was
covering your tits, though?
yes, yeah, but it
Unlike
was
Dale.
yeah, but it was very much like cock rock, you know. So
Mhm. Right.
that 80s kind of rock, pop rock, and then we decided to get serious and we changed our name to The Deafening, and I changed my name to Lena Hall in the band. So when we became The Deafening, then I was doing shows as Lena Hall. I had this whole thing set up. We were doing, there was all the solo album stuff that we were going to do that never ended up happening. But Lena Hall was definitely a caricature at
Mhm.
first, and then when I took the name on as my own, it changed the original direction of where I was going to go with Lena Hall.
Mhm. Sure.
But it
Well,
certainly
because
didn't.
then you fused them, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. So it just became me. So like my husband who met me as Lena Hall,
Oh.
he knows me as Lena Hall. Like, so he calls me Lena. And now anyone who's met me after the name change, they call me Lena because that's how they know me. So there's this half and half kind of like the people who've known me for a long time. They're like, I'm not going to call you Lena. I'm just going to call you Selena. I'm like, that's fine. If you knew me from then, that's fine. I don't really care either because both names are me. It's just a matter of personal preference, really, honestly.
Do you identify with either one at this point more than the other?
I think Lena has taken over just because I've made my career now as Lena Hall. But I'll always be that little girl, Selena Carvajal, Selena Consuela Gabriela Carvajal.
I remember when Rosie O'Donnell started her daytime show, when she'd have friends or family there, they would call her Ro or Roseanne because that's her real name,
Right.
and her kids knew her as Roseanne or Ro, and they'd say Rosie O'Donnell is a show, like it's a separate person. And if somebody went up to her and said, "Hey, Ro or Roseanne," she's like, "Oh, they knew me from when I grew up. They knew me pre-fame."
Oh, nice. Unless they
So
did their job on
oh,
Wikipedia or something.
exactly. Now we're blowing her cover because I'm like, oh, well, that's a good way to know if they really know you or if they're just, fanning. Who cares?
Right,
Although,
right.
thank God for fans. Thank God.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
So I first saw you on the Legally Blonde reality show, and I was talking to Jerry Mitchell about you yesterday, who, by the way, said she is amazing. You're gonna have so much fun.
I love
As a matter
him.
of fact, I was gonna have him surprise us, but he had a Zoom call. He was
Oh,
on.
Zoom.
Yeah, well, I've got him last week or whenever Broadway Bears was. We had him on for the full show, so he's like, "Look, I've done my time. I can't keep popping in." Like I think Charles Bush and Mark Shaman have been the most frequent pop-ins. So not once you're on the list. But I went back and I was watching some of the reality show last night,
Yeah.
and I had forgotten how many people were involved that we know and that went on to do a lot of things. I mean, what was that experience like for you?
It was certainly a learning experience. I came into the show thinking one thing and I left the show thinking something completely different.
All right, what did you go
Um,
in thinking?
well, I had been auditioning for the show many times for Jerry Mitchell
Oh,
because they kept calling me in for all these different roles and they couldn't quite place me because I wasn't like, cutesy enough for the cute girls. I
right.
wasn't
You weren't
like
blonde.
Yeah, I wasn't blonde, but I was also not like there's a little edge to me that I can never get rid of, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it just comes off and no matter how hard I try to act it away, it is there. No matter what. And so, the parts I went in for Margot, I went in for all the girls, the friends, and then I went in for uh Brooke, which actually I would have really loved to have played Brooke.
I
But
can actually see that. Yeah.
yeah, that's the one part I think that I could have seen. And then Vivian and then understudies and all this kind of stuff. They kept having me come in and come in and come in. And I never was hired.
And this is all
uh,
previous to the reality show.
this is previous, yeah.
Okay.
And then I got a call and they were like, "Hey, Jerry Mitchell wants you to come in for Elle, but you have to audition via this reality television show. But he's really interested in having
Oh.
you." And I was like, yeah, okay. And
Mhm.
and so I was like, well, if Jerry Mitchell wants me there, maybe I'm like the shoe-in because I've done 4 Broadway shows already, and,
And
I'm a
he's already seen you
professional. He's
several
already seen me
times.
a million times, and, maybe he thinks that, like, I'm the one, and if I have to do it via reality television show, so be it. And at the time,
Right.
that was kind of like at the height of reality television. It had
Was
taken
that
over scripted.
was that the first Broadway one? I think it was before the Grease one.
No, the Grease one was first.
Okay. All
You're
right.
the One That I Want, I believe, was first.
Okay.
And so, because of the amount of reality television shows that were out there and there was not really any scripted television happening, I was like, all right, well, I guess I just have to do this. This is where the business is going. I've
And
got
you
to
can
pit.
fight it.
Yeah, you can either fight it or you can pivot with it and make it your own. So I went for it. And then I realized early
What it was.
on, I was like, oh, this is not like a actual audition. This is nothing. This is like, all staged, all done to like mess with our heads to
Right.
like, get us to hate each other, which we never did. And it was like I saw fairly early on that I had not a chance because I could tell the way that they were going and how
Uh-huh.
they were doing things. I was like, I'm here as like a character. I'm definitely not here to get this job because these other girls, one's plucked right out of the middle of nowhere, that
Mhm.
makes such a good story. They want that story. They don't want, I've been here for 4 years and paid my dues, like I'm like a
So were
old
you like the
school.
Cassie?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. What was funny is that, when they were going to announce who our mentor was, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, God, I hope it's Patty LaPone. Or, I thought of all these amazing names and I was like, Betty Buckley, Patty LaPone, anyway. So my head was like, ooh, it's going to be someone good like that. You know what I mean? I was like, it's got to be because it's these guys. I know all the people involved. Like,
Sure.
this is our business. But then I realized, oh, MTV, and it was Haley Duff, and she had done like, a small run in Hairspray as,
Right.
and I was just like, and that was the one Broadway show she had done. And I was just
And
like,
you're sitting there, yeah, what are you gonna tell me, Duff?
yeah, I was like, honey, I did cats for 2.5 years. Like, I know what it shows is, and I know how to like go
Well,
on stage with broken hands and a broken foot or whatever, and dance through it. Like,
well,
what?
here's a surprise guest, Haley Duff. No, she's not here. Wouldn't that be hysterical?
I
Okay.
would love it. No, I mean, I really love her, and it's nothing against her
It's not
personally
what you
at
thought,
all.
right,
It's
right.
just that I
A
was like,
Broadway mentor, Haley Duff.
yeah, I was like, this is not what I consider a Broadway mentor. But since then, Patty LaPone's become a friend of mine, and I just had lunch with her the other day,
Oh, name
and I
dropper.
love Patty. I love Patty. She is
Patty's
just,
the best. And
she's
Patty's
the best.
exactly what you think she's gonna be, she's even more, which
Yeah,
you love.
and it's great. She's kind of like the dying breed of the Broadway like broad
Right. The
woman
no
who's
nonsense,
no
straight
nonsense.
shooter.
Oh
If she
yeah,
doesn't like it, you know.
she's diva,
Um,
and I love her for that.
so let me show this picture. So who am I looking at here? That's you on the far left.
Yes, the very pale, very tall redhead. That's me. I towered over all those girls. There was one girl, Natalie, who's still a really good friend of mine. She came up to like my armpit, and I was like, I'm definitely not getting this job. Look how sad. Oh my God, look how sad Lauren looks.
Well,
Also, like,
first, nobody looks happy.
I do. I look pretty
And
happy.
yeah, but that's because you're delusional. That's a delusional happy. This
Yeah.
looks like a firing squad, which of course is what an audition is, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, you're not traipsed around like that and embarrassed on MTV.
Um, well, I'm going to show a very quick clip. Now, people, if you're watching on Facebook, because Facebook, when you show a clip, sometimes they just stop the video. So if they stop
Okay.
it, go to YouTube. We're going to still be on YouTube. But I'm just going to show the beginning of this because I really think anyone at home watching this, because this is the moment I remember seeing you and I went, well, she's got it. She's got it. She has to dye her hair, but she's got it. Okay, just a quick clip.
Almost there, but this dress needs to seal the deal, make a grown man kneel, but it can't come right out and say bride, can't look like I'm desperate or like I'm waiting for it. I gotta leave Warner his pride, so bride is more implied. Oh my God, you guys, all this week I've had butterflies. Every time he looks at me, it's totally proposal eyes. Oh my God, you guys, so help me dress for my fairy tale. Can't wear something I bought on sale. Love is like forever, this is no time to economize. Oh my God, you guys.
Just love
God.
that. I just because you see that you can act, that you've got a legit voice, and the girls almost can act as well because they almost look happy for you.
I was like the threat because I was like the old timer,
and the
who's been there, done
voice.
that.
You
And-
really were the one. And I remember watching it saying, this is a girl, because I didn't really know anything about you. I'm thinking she's some girl who could just walk on stage and I can do it. Yeah, I got it. Like sort of like Patty Lupone. You can give her a million notes. Girl, I got it.
But yeah, at the end of that show, I ended up being like the den mother. So it was
Real-
fun.
Was
I
there a age difference? I don't remember that.
there was, yeah. Well, it was a 10-year age gap. So
Oh, wow.
Lauren, who was 18, and then I was 28. So there was a 10-year age gap. But
Wow.
I had to protect them because I could kind of see what was going on. I could see the manipulation happening from MTV. It's not the Broadway show, not Jerry, not the casting directors, none of that. It was
It's a TV show.
specifically the reality show. They were trying, they were doing what they could to get whatever drama and good TV they could get. And that, I can't blame them for that at all, but I felt very protective of the girls because sometimes they wouldn't feed us and they wanted us to like pass out and they
Oh,
wanted us to get really angry at each other and they were really egging it on. And I was just like, you guys, like, try not to give into that because what we have is much more special than drama. We're like here, we're a sisterhood and we're here for each other. And
Mhm.
whoever gets it, like, that's great. No hard feelings. That's how Broadway is. That's how, you go about this business because you have no control. The only thing you have control over in this business is what you bring to the room. And then
Mhm. Yeah.
and then after that, it's out of your hands. And whoever gets it, it is nothing against your personality, your
Talent.
your talent. I mean, really nothing against that. So it's like I was trying to remind these girls because I didn't want them to get the wrong impression of what it's like to be on Broadway or go to auditions or audition or
Right.
I didn't want them to get the wrong idea
And
of
that
what it
isn't
was like in
this.
New York. Yeah, I'm like, it's not, it's not this. I mean, some people get competitive. I am extremely competitive by nature. That's
Right.
just who I am. But also, like, I know that if the person I'm on my own journey and not to compare and despair. And if someone else gets it, they got it because they're fabulous and they brought something different to it. And, you can't get caught up in that. Like,
Right.
oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Or else you'll never last in this business because you just
And
have
most
to.
people don't because of that.
Yeah, exactly. And people
You
talk
know
about
what?
having a thick skin. You don't really
Uh-huh.
need a thick skin. I don't believe that you need a thick skin or to be hard. You
Mhm.
need to go in there, enjoy it, and then let it go. Like that is a different thing than being hardened or having a thick skin from all the no's. Like you have to remember that, it's not rejection. It's actually just that it's not the right time. So like, I mean, if I could go back and change some people's experience and give them the knowledge that I have now, I would love to do that. But a lot of my friends who were extraordinarily talented, they didn't they ended up not pursuing it because
Yeah, it's hard. And I've been an actor, but I've also been a writer and a host, and I've seen it from both sides. I've been on both sides of casting tables. And what I've realized, and I think everybody who's a performer should have to be on the other side of that table,
yeah,
because what you learn is that person's great, but it's not what I'm looking for in this moment. It doesn't match what I had in my head. And the other thing is, you had mentioned about the camaraderie. If you last, you're going to come in contact with the same people over and over again. This is your peer group. And it's also your support group.
yeah.
And if you can learn that the person who got it had something that they were looking for and take yourself out of the equation, you can actually be happy for them. It is hard when you're in the middle of it.
It's hard and it's very easy to compare and despair. It's very easy to see someone and
course.
be like, why am I not doing that? Why I
Right.
should be doing this, I should be doing that. And it's just like you're on your own journey. It happens when it happens, but honestly, it's not going to be like anybody else's career. You're going to have your own career and your own path. You just have to keep doing what you love, and whatever that may be, you have to fulfill it in your own way, so that you're not you're not desperate, but you're not looking for these Broadway shows to fill that creative hole or fill that,
or that validation.
That's what I'm,
Because
yeah, exactly.
I think that people go into so many people go into show business for reasons other than artistic reasons. They're insecure, they need that validation, they've got other issues, and they're not going to find them in show business. They may temporarily, but it's a disaster waiting to happen. When did you become so wise? When did this kick in that you realized, oh, if I don't get it, it's not that I didn't do a great job, it's that they were looking for someone else? Because that's something that comes with age.
I went on a very long journey. I started about, let's see. So believe it or not, right after the Tony Awards, I hit a bottom in my life.
Really?
I did, yeah. And so I decided to clean up my life, get sober, and kind of do some work on myself, because I had been going through life and just going from one relationship to the other, and like I didn't really know who I was, and I was also drinking and using a lot. So and the show, Hedwig, it wasn't helpful for that at all, because everybody wanted
It's an
to party
environment.
after
Yeah.
every single show. And it was like, so I really hit a low point during Hedwig.
Even though professionally it was such a high point.
Yes, exactly.
Which sometimes masks it too, because things are going so well professionally.
Right, exactly. And so after I was done with Hedwig, I kind of went on this journey. I cleaned up my diet. I KonMari'd all my stuff. I was looking for answers and trying to figure out some things and clear up my head. And so I ended up actually getting sober, and then going to a 12-step, and
Wow.
that was something that helped me with the business a lot, because that was the point when I realized, what I was doing, the compare and despair, the beating myself up, rethinking these auditions over and over again, thinking, well, why didn't I get it? I did this wrong. I did that wrong, and it was actually it was actually 12 steps. So I went to Al-Anon, and I did the 12-step program. And through that, it really helped me focus on this. How do I make myself happy first?
Right.
How do I do it myself instead of looking for other projects or other people to do it for me, or, looking for them to fulfill that? How do I fulfill myself alone? And so then
Which
I
is
started,
so hard.
it's so hard, but then I started figuring that out, and I've been getting really kind of zen with everything. And, whenever I see an opportunity to pivot, I do try to pivot. And I was able to change my life around, and I've been sober ever since. So,
Which is great.
Yeah.
Especially but I think, I find that people who come to this realization after they've had success, it tends to stick more because they have had more experience and they actually know what they're doing and why they're doing it, versus just because somebody else pushed them into it.
Yeah, you have to do it for yourself.
Right.
And there's no way does it ever work when someone's like, you need to go to get sober, you need to go to rehab, and the person's like, okay, I'll do it for you. And then of course that person will definitely go back to the way they were. It has to come from the inside. Internal change is the hardest it's also the hardest thing to do, because you have to really look in the mirror a lot. You have to, wonder why you point the finger at people for certain things, and then you have to point the finger at yourself.
Absolutely.
So if you're just like, I hate that person because da 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 da. Then you go, oh, okay, so I hate me because da da da. It's the same
Right.
thing. You're just seeing a mirror of the things that you don't, like in yourself, in that other person. That's why it bothers you, right? So, we don't really realize that. And that's tough because, you are exposing yourself to all the kind of stuff that you don't like. You're like, oh wow, I'm
Well, you're
that.
facing all the yeah, I have friends that are incredibly critical of other people, and when you start analyzing, you realize that they have those same traits, and you think to yourself, "Well, what does that mean? Does that mean they hate themselves because they hate this?" And then you realize that, they haven't thought that through.
Right, yeah. They're just seeing what they don't like, and they don't realize it's something they don't like in themselves. It's not
Absolutely.
realization yet. Once you start doing that, it's really it's kind of wild, because then you're like, "Oh, I can change this." And then the
Or I
what
can accept it.
or you can accept it. Yeah, you can either accept it or change it. Yeah, exactly. And it's great. I mean, I've freed up my life. I've freed up a lot of things for myself, and I mean, I'm by no means perfect. I fall into traps all the time. I get frustrated. I have brain fog sometimes, to like.
But now you see it.
But yeah, now I'm far more relaxed, so things don't cause panic attacks or stress, or, I'm much more relaxed about things, and I can just get things done and take care of business, instead of just going off the handle and
And
drinking it
being
away.
instinctive, right.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to match.
So I remember I didn't even realize that I saw you in this, but I saw you in Prometheus Bound at the ART here in Cambridge.
Oh my God.
I'm in Boston right now. So
Hello.
I saw you in this. It was one of the most extraordinary, immersive, insane kind of things. So many friends of mine, Michael Cuneo, Leah Delaria, Gavin Creel. I mean, everybody was in this, and so were you.
Yeah,
So talk to me about that experience. Oh,
that
let's explain what it was first.
Oh, it was so it was written by Stephen Sater, and it was about the myth of Prometheus, how he's bound to a rock,
Mhm.
basically can't leave. So there you go.
Right.
And doesn't seem like it makes for a very good show, because it's like you have
You
your
wouldn't think
main
a toe
character.
tapper, no.
Yeah, you have your main character stuck on a rock. uh, but
And you were the sea something. What were you? The princess of the sea or something?
No, we were
What were you guys?
these angelic
Nymphs-ish
nymphs.
things?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There are three of us. We're kind of bird, angel, angelic things. And so it was about that, and Uzo was in it, Uzo Aduba. And this is before.
And I got this picture as well.
Yeah, Joe Lampert.
Yeah.
It's like so many people who did huge things.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly, it was such a cool show, because the music was written by Stephen Sater, and if you don't know who Stephen Sater is, he like wrote the music and was the lead singer for System of a Down, which is like, I would say it's like experimental hard rock, emo,
Alternative-ish.
all kinds of just really cool, strange. He had some hits.
Atmospheric too.
Yeah, he had some hits and stuff like that. And so he wrote the music, which really drew me to the piece. I really wanted to do this piece. And so the music was unbelievable, and it was immersive. It was so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And everyone in it was so good. And then we were excited about it. When we came back to New York, I actually was casting Kinky Boots. So when I came back, I went and started doing like all the workshops of Kinky Boots. And then it disappeared.
Yeah.
And I was so bummed about that, because it was so good. It was so different. The music was very different than what you would hear on Broadway. And by the end of the run in ART, it was just like 2 weeks or something. We had
Right.
people coming dressed up in as the
Oh,
characters. I mean, it was
that's when
wild.
I saw it. I went it the last weekend, I think.
Yep.
And I had so many friends that kept saying, "You've got to see this thing." And every time they explained it, I said, I don't get it. They're like, "You're
Yeah.
not gonna get it. You got to go."
Yeah, yeah.
And when I went, it was like a Rocky Horror situation. People were crying and dressed up, and it was unreal.
So
I actually
good.
wanted to see it a second time, and I couldn't, because I said, this is something you've got to see again. You have to digest it, wait, and then go back. And
Yeah.
I really was excited about it going to New York. But of course, you were busy anyway, because you were going into Kinky Boots.
That's a photograph from Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, is that Bat Out of Hell? Oh my God. Well, sorry. See, I can only see them in little things. Well, let's talk about the Jim Steinman musical.
Sure, yeah.
All right,
That
talk about that. I did not see you in that,
Oh, it was so fun.
but I
No,
did
not
see
a lot of
that in.
people
I saw
saw it.
that in London.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy show. It's very different from what was done in London. What was done here was very different. I had like 2 months free before I had to go film second season of Snowpiercer, so this
Uh-huh.
just like fit right in my schedule, and I love the music, so I was just like, yeah,
Mhm.
okay, I don't care, like, let's do it. I want to have some fun, and boy, did I have some fun. And I was really grateful to the director, because the director was basically like, hey, you know, whatever you're feeling for this scene, just go for it. I want to see what you come up with. I was like, okay. So instead of having me like copy what they did in London, they let me really do my own thing. And it just turned into an absolute, campy, fun comedy, which I feel like it always was supposed to be.
Yeah, it
Kind
was
of
very
it
serious in London.
Yeah, I don't understand why, because the show is very, very campy. The music, if you listen to Jim Steinman's music, his lyrics, his even the orchestrations, I mean, it is big. It is bigger than
Yeah.
life. It is campy, and it does live in
Well, it
that
is also
sense.
theatrical.
Very theatrical. Yeah. So you don't you can take it seriously to a point
Mhm.
where you take like in order to do camp right, you have to approach it from a serious standpoint. You have to actually just do the work, and you can't just like go ape shit and off the wall or anything like that. But then you can amp up everything, so you turn it up a couple dials, and then that's when you get like a really good camp going. And you have to take yourself seriously. You can't laugh at your own jokes, because you have to let the audience laugh with you. But
And you have to create that reality and stay true to it.
exactly. And I had so much fun. I got to sing some of the best freaking songs ever. So I was really grateful for that, because Jim
Which
Simon's
songs
music is
did you get?
really ridiculous. Paradise by the Dashboard of the
Of
Lights,
course.
and then It's All Coming Back to Me Now. And then which is the Celine Dion song.
Mhm.
And then I got a few other got some originals that were written for the show. So
Oh, wow.
that was really cool. And I mean, I got to sing my face off. Like they were really like, just like belt it out, do your thing. I'm like, yes, I got to be like, yeah.
So it really was like being a rock star on Broadway.
Yeah, it was super fun. And the band was so good. Ridiculous. And the cast was amazing too. I mean, everybody just understood the show, and they
Mhm.
understood the music, and they all had incredible voices. The cast was unbelievably stellar. Yeah, it is too bad about the way the show is handled, and who's,
Right.
it's just there's something going on there. I don't know what it is, but certainly there's something behind the scenes with the higher ups that is, because the show has the ability to be like the camp show that comes in and completely, like has its regulars, everyone comes dressed up, it has that ability,
Right.
100%. It's just, I think it has to do with the way that the show
How it's handled.
is handled, not by the director, but by
Yeah.
the producer.
Yeah,
And
We
it's the
Will
same.
Rock You is like that too. Is that, London handles it very well, but whenever I've seen it here in the States, I'm like, it doesn't seem to work right. And I don't know if it's positioning in terms of marketing or
Yes.
what.
Yeah, I think the marketing was not done very much at all. And it's the same, it's the same producer who did Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark and who did the Janis Joplin tour that didn't happen, and then
Oh
the
God, that was
Jesus
such a
Christ
great show.
Superstar, the Jesus Christ Superstar one that didn't happen.
Right.
It's out, so it's like,
Consistency.
yeah. So, which is too bad because the cast deserved much better. I was a kind of a late in, I guess, the girl who was supposed to do it. This was the tour that was supposed to be
Right.
touring around the United
It was
States, and
every
it
place.
closed right before, and then they couldn't get rid of this New York date. So they had to just do it in New York.
And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I was planning on I was in LA at the time. I said, maybe I should go to New York. And it sort of sounded like we're going to do New York, but then we'll revisit the tour. And then the revisiting never happened.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not
Okay,
going
now
to
let's
sell a
see.
tour if you don't market it.
I think please God, let this be Kinky Boots.
That's Kinky Boots. Yes.
Oh, thank
There's
fuck,
my original
Jesus.
cast.
All right, so let's talk about Kinky Boots
Dark
because
and Billy and Annalie.
I know, obviously, another Jerry show. Did knowing Jerry from the Legally Blonde situation, did that come into play with this?
Yeah, for sure. He was like, I want you for this. This is,
thank God.
you're perfect for this. This is your, it was mine to lose. This was mine to lose for sure.
Were you brought in to audition, or was it a meeting, or how did it work?
No, I still had to audition. But I went in and I did basic audition with Stephen Aremus, the music director, and they just they took me through everything, and the casting director, they just took me through everything, and then they were like, okay, great, we're gonna call you back for Harvey and Cindy. But I was in Cambridge doing Prometheus Bound, so I ended up having to self-tape my audition up there. And luckily, my boyfriend at the time was my guitarist in my band, and so he played the song on guitar, and I did
thank God.
And it worked out really well. So I ended up getting the job on a self-tape, which is
and
awesome.
You still have that self-tape, I'm sure.
I do, yeah. But that was long ago. I mean, that was before the cell phone camera was really good.
Yeah.
It wasn't
not like this
yet.
when we're doing professional. So what was that experience like? Because that was a show that was really built from the ground up. It sounds like you were there from the beginning. And when did it hit you? This is something. There's going to be a phenomenon. Because it really was.
Yeah. It never did. I loved the show. I loved working with everyone who was a part of the show. I loved Harvey, and I loved Cindy and Jerry, and everyone involved in the show was just awesome. Annalie and I were there were some others who were actually in it from the very beginning. So we started with the readings, and we did all the workshops and everything all the way up to Broadway.
Wow, that is so rare.
Yeah, I think I missed one because I was working, doing something else. But other than that, I was, involved in it from the beginning, from the get-go. And we saw the show change, and it becomes part of your, it just becomes like your family. You just kind of, you want to keep going. And when we did the out of town tryout, it was interesting because for me, was
that Toronto?
We were in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, my character was actually Harvey wrote Nicola really well. She was beautifully written. I had a gorgeous song in the second act, and people really liked my character too much. So, because they weren't liking Charlie, they weren't liking, it wasn't Stark. It's like they weren't liking Charlie's choices, and then they weren't really, and then Lauren which was Annalise character,
Mm-hmm.
was underwritten. So just there wasn't enough there for the audience to like want want Charlie to be with Lauren.
Right.
And so Harvey kept coming to me and he's like, I had to cut the scene down. I had to cut the scene down. I had to cut the scene down. And then by the time we got to our first, or by the time we got to the second or third preview in Chicago, they were like, we have to cut the song down, or we have to cut the song down. And the song was already really short anyway. And I was like, well, it doesn't make sense to cut the song. You might as well just it doesn't make sense to cut the song down. You might as well just get rid of the whole song, because what's the point?
Right.
I'm saying the same thing. So either I say it with the song or I say it with words, but it seems a little weird to have just like a tiny bit. And so the song got cut, and my character got cut way down. But I stayed with the show. They were like, you can leave.
Did you think? Yeah. Did you think about leaving?
No. I loved the show. I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I have seen shows go through those transitions, and I think that very often it's hard to even tell whether these changes are better or not, because I think your initial hearing of something, particularly if you fall in love with it, you have a bias to that because it's already in your head. It's your first exposure to it, and nothing afterwards ever really matches that, regardless of how good it may be.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to adjust, but then after a while it just becomes the norm. And I think I had like 15 minutes total of stage time in the entire show. I spent the whole show in my dressing room, and I learned how to edit video, and I learned how to do so much during Kinky Boots. So and it was weird because my character was also very isolated. The angels were isolated with the angels, and then the factory workers were with the factory workers, and it was just me and Stark. That's it. Like, that's who I did the show with, and no one else. And so for me, it was a very isolated show. I didn't have as much excitement, except for the very end. I'd get to come on stage, but really I felt very disconnected from
not part of the group. Right.
Yeah, but it was still awesome. Like, there's no shame in that. They included me in the Tony Awards, and I got to dance, and that was the first time I got to dance on stage for the Tony Awards, and that was, sing and dance on stage for the Tony Awards. That was really, really cool, and I was very appreciative of that. So they always included me in everything. They didn't want me to be the one person left out.
Who would have been, right?
I would have been, yeah, and but that was just the way the character was.
Right.
And then, but it gave me enough time to like work on other things, and it really did lead me to booking Hedwig. So
right. So let's go right to Hedwig. I mean, this is the big thing that most people who hadn't seen you in the theater knew you from. And you did something that I think is one of the most extraordinary things I have ever heard of to get this show. Do you want to tell the story of how you got it?
Yeah. Well, I knew
when you first when you heard that they were going to bring Hedwig to Broadway, what was your thought?
I have to be in this. Like, I can't.
And there's not even a question, right?
No question. It was like, I must be in this show. Period. Hands down. End of story. I must get this. This is where my competitive nature comes out. And I was like, there's no one better for this. I am a rock and roller. I can do this authentically. Like,
it plays to every skill you have.
Yeah. How do I do this? And so I knew the show, and I knew the character was actually a man, not a drag king. And so, it was my goal to be as male as possible, and where I worked on the accent, and I had a bunch of callbacks. So I brought my guitarist with me, and when they called my name, I made him go in first, and then because I knew that Yitzhak was the onstage sound engineer, essentially. So I had my guitarist go in first, and then I came in behind him with an amplifier for the guitar. and I plugged the amp in and I got it all set up, and then I was
Did
like,
all the
"Hi."
business
Yeah, I'm like, "Hi." And
in character and in costume.
in costume, yeah.
Yeah.
But not in character yet, because I was just like, "Hi, I'm Lena." And then
Oh,
I would do
wow.
the scenes in character, but like I came in dressed up and I kind of lumbered around, but I still didn't like fully take on the character until for my final callback. So right before my final callback, I did have an audition for John, Steven, Michael Mayer, and Spencer Liff. And so after my audition there, John came up to me. Well, John and Michael came up to me and they were like, "You are a cute guy." I was like, thanks. And then they're like,
And that's
"Hey,"
probably the first time they had said that to a Yitzhak.
they're like, "You're cute." So they were like, "Next time when you come back, we want you to come in the room. We don't want you to drop character. We want you to tell a joke in character or a story in character, something short. You're gonna do an improv scene with John. You're gonna sing all the material that you've been doing. And we're going to ask you questions and you have to be in character. The only time you can leave characters when you exit the room." I was like, "Okay, great." So basically I sat there and I had a week to think about this, and I had to think about, well, why is Yitzhak going into an audition in the first place? I
Mhm.
needed to make sense of the character going into a room, or else my answers would be all over the place. I needed
So
to
you
just have
created
some
his
kind of a
whole
focus.
backstory, basically.
Yeah, so essentially, I went in and I did a monologue that I had written that is about I'm sure it's like 5 minutes long, but I like to believe it was 2.5 minutes. But it's long, and it was I wrote a whole, and I told this whole story of my backstory coming from Croatia in a town that was like a boom town because it produced the yak hair that was used for the wigs in Cats on Broadway. And and it was like a communist town. That's how they knew about Broadway, was because they were producing the yak hair for Cats, and they would put on like Vladimir Lenin's Cats, which at the end, all of the kitties shed their belongings and went up on the tire for the good of the litter. And that whole thing explained the whole thing. And then the town went desolate when the town, went into a depression after Cats on Broadway closed. And my house and my mom, they all burned down in a big fire because her yak hair, everything caught fire.
I shouldn't be laughing. Were they laughing?
No. Okay.
Were-
So anyway, yeah, I mean, I could do the whole monologue for you. I
No,
should definitely do it and post it. But and then Yitzhak is digging through the rubble and finds a cassette tape of Rent, and he's like, "It's my mother. She wants me to go Broadway and be Angel on Broadway." Anyway, so then
So you're a girl
then
playing a guy who wants to audition to be a drag queen or a transgender person.
yeah, I am playing. I am a man who is auditioning to play. Auditioning. It's not
Angel.
an audition. It's actually an investors Kickstarter kind of campaign to get them to invest in bringing Rent back to Broadway, because Rent had been closed on Broadway, right? So after my long monologue, I pulled out and I said, "Please donate to my Kickstarter campaign." Like, that's why I was there. I was there to get money from them. And so I brought out my computer and I opened it up and I played for them my 2-minute Kickstarter campaign video that I made and filmed. We had filmed it around New York. It's on YouTube. It's on my YouTube,
Since
by
you're
the way.
saying it, I'm going to just show the beginning of it.
Okay.
It's so insane. Okay. We'll just play the first It is so brilliant. Now they're still not laughing.
They laughed not once, except later in the video. I'm like, you'll get to see all your favorite characters in Rent, and I'm like playing each character, and it's like Mark, and it's like close ups, and I'm like turning around, and I'm going Mimi, and then I'm like Angel, and then I'm Roger, and then Angel, and then this character, and then Angel, like I keep going back to Angel because I want to play Angel, right? It's like the subtle hint, and when it was like Angel the last time, there's like a ding that happens on my teeth, and John Cameron Mitchell was the only one in the room, and John was like nah! Like that's all I got from John was that was it. And then
you came up with I assume you came up with the look for him in this video.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was based on the original
right.
look, and later it adjusted because we did a lot of research. Well, I did a lot of research, and so did the costume and hair. We did a lot of research, and I looked at a lot of drag queens, and I noticed that the one huge giveaway was fake facial hair. That really always never looked right to me. So the best thing that we came up with was subtle, just like having, what are these called? Sideburns. Sorry.
I was thinking too. That's all right.
Having sideburns, but the big thing for me that is always a dead giveaway is eyebrows. Women have very arched, pretty eyebrows, and men have like
bushy, yeah.
And oftentimes they go up in the middle, and their expressions, male and female expressions very different on their face. Female, like women, are far more expressive than men are, and that was something that I had kind of noted when I was working on Yitzhak and working on the character after I got the job.
Oh yeah, so let's go back. So you show this thing, it's landing like a lead balloon. You're staying in character, you're not laughing, and you're hopefully not sweating at this point. So you show the video, then what?
The dead of winter, I was freezing. I was in total layers. Oh my God, and I should
sweating.
And I should mention that this is between shows on a Wednesday. So I was in Kinky Boots.
You got into the drag to go do the audition and then have to run back.
Yeah, I had 20 minutes to get to my audition and get fully in drag. And the producer was late because he was at my Christmas party. He was at the Kinky Boots Christmas party, which I couldn't go to because I had to go to this audition. And they were like, we're waiting for the producer. Hang on. I was like, where is he? They're like, he's at the Kinky Boots Christmas party. I was like, fuck.
He could have given me a ride.
Yeah. And then I was almost late to half hour because my audition lasted about 40 minutes.
Well, just the video and the monologue alone.
Well, then I had to do an improv with John, and then I had to do all these songs. I sang with John. I sang The Long Grift. I sang my own choice of song, which was Kiss Me Deadly. I sang harmonies, and then I did the monologue in the show at the beginning of the show, and yeah, it was long. And then they talked to me for a long time too. And
as Yitzhak,
and I had to answer all these questions. So, by the end of the audition, 40 minutes had gone by, and I was like, I got a show. Like, I got to go. And so I had to run back to my theater, and I had to get dressed really fast
and get out of all it. Yeah.
And go back to my British Nicola.
Oh my God.
But it was great. I mean, very worth it. I almost didn't go through with all of that, but I did. And I had help with the monologue. So, my boyfriend at the time, he's always very funny. And so he helped me with the communist humor of it, so and I had all the theater humor. It was like our two brains were good together because we came up with the whole I came up with the cats and the yak hair and that whole thing. He came up with like the
fleshing it out.
Yeah, the more communist stuff that's in the monologue that you'll see.
So when did you hear that you got it?
On accident. I got it was an accident on Facebook Messenger. I got a message from the casting people that was like, we're so excited to have you. Thank you. You were great. We're really excited. I was like, huh? And
No.
and this is right before the Christmas break. So this is literally the day that people leave for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Leave the office for 2 weeks. And my agent had gotten the call like a while ago, and they didn't tell me. They were going to tell me till after the Christmas break. And I was
What the
like,
hell kind of agent is that? Get
I
rid
was
of that
like,
agent.
what? I did. But
Oh, good.
yeah, that was a big mistake.
That is a bad choice.
Because I was like, what? You know, and they're like, oh, whoops, you know, and so I had to call my agent and be like, so what's going on with Hedwig? Like, what's going on? They're like, oh, you got it. I'm like, oh, you
Gee,
couldn't tell me
thanks.
that. I know. Anyway, so yeah, so it was
So
great.
I'm gonna show people. So this is a picture of you with Neil. Is this Neil? Yes.
Yeah, that's Neil.
Now that we're seeing that Yitzhak has changed a little, looks younger,
yeah.
and a sort of more street and less sort of grunge, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Much
And
more
then
cool, like rock and roll.
and then there was this picture. Is this all Neil? All
No, I
four of them?
see.
There's a
It's all
variety.
4 of my
Okay, so who do
wives.
we got? Neil at the top.
Got Neil,
Left.
Andrew. I love that shot of Andrew and
Yeah.
I. It's a great shot. And then
Yeah.
that's Michael C. Hall, and then
Yeah.
that's John.
And now, did your I mean, it would have to. Such a silly question. Did your performance change with each Hedwig? And what was the biggest gap in terms of your performance between who and whom?
You mean the biggest change?
Yeah, change for you in terms of, because I'm sure a lot of them were subtle changes and some are going to be more drastic.
Well, you know, the character, what never changed was the like constant attention. Just
Mhm.
I had to be always paying attention because I was in charge. If anything happened to the
Sure.
microphones, the cords, anything broke, if they needed water, a pastille, anything, it was to me. So I had to really pay attention. So that never
Like
went
a
out the
real life
window.
roadie. Really?
Yeah, I was just like, it was my gig to just watch. And I
Mhm.
watched and listened every single show intently. I never
Oh, I bet.
and I couldn't, you know. And I think when John came in, that was the biggest change, just because it's his show,
Right.
And anything, I mean, that was the biggest wild card because he would do anything.
Anything could happen.
And try to make me laugh and try to get me to break, and you know, like and I had to be just on my game all the time. It was really hard not to laugh without him. I mean, I did break a couple of times just because John is just brilliantly funny.
Yeah, and that must have been so heartbreaking when he went in at first and then had the accident and then couldn't continue. I mean, were you obviously you're there?
I'm there, yeah. So he did the Crate show, and they ended up
Yeah.
using me to do all the business. So
Right.
my show got like 10 times more complex.
I bet it sounded unreal.
But I'm one of those. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I loved it, and it actually really worked for the character too.
Mhm,
And
sure.
we had a really good time, you know.
Was there one that you clicked with the most? I mean, I guess Neil, you had the most rehearsal time with, and you're developing, so that's got to be a very special experience.
Yeah, I mean, we won the Tonys together, and so Neil was
And let's just
my
show
original.
there she is winning the Tony. Hello.
Hello. And we went through a lot, and I think with each Hedwig, it was just a totally different person, and so it was a different vibe each one. With
Yeah.
Neil, it was like the showgirl.
Mhm, yeah.
She was the star, like the showgirl star. With Andrew, it was like anger, complete and utter, just fucking anger. She's great.
Right.
And then with Michael C. Hall, it was like tragedy. It was watching
Pathos, yeah.
a complete like a complete breakdown of a human being before your eyes, right?
Mhm.
And then with John, it's the original. And so, with John was the comedian, Neil
Was the character.
Neil as the showgirl was a comedian, but was
Right.
the showgirl comedian, whereas John was the broke down, it just like off the cuff, like over it comedian. So
Yeah, it
each
seemed to me more like Dietrich. I just kept remembering
yeah,
when I saw John, that laconic, like, whatever, broken
yeah,
down.
just
Yeah.
completely, the energy's there because everything's happening up here, but physically it was just like over it and damaged. And
And
then
doesn't care.
doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, exactly. And then then you have Darren Chris
Oh, right.
who I
You did
did.
it in LA?
Yeah,
Is
San
that where I
Francisco
saw
and
you in LA? Yeah.
LA. And Darren, to me, because Darren's so young and
Mhm.
vibrant and like handsome and body and like, like energy out everywhere. And I
Right.
always felt like Darren was Tommy Gnosis telling Hedwig's story.
That's
So it was
very
a flip.
interesting. Yeah.
Because,
Because
it's
it
two.
seemed more rock. I will remember when I saw first off, what shocked me, and I think I saw 3 of the 5, I guess, that we've now just named. And what I found about Darren was the energy. It was like it was the most rock show in terms of energy. And also, he really struck me that maybe because I didn't expect him to be as good with the improvisational and playing with the audience, and they were all authentic in their own way, but for some reason he shocked me the most.
Right. Yeah. I always felt like Darren was not not old enough, not torn down enough
The gravitas, yeah.
to be Hedwig, but so that's why it felt more like it was Tommy Gnosis telling the
Sure.
story.
Or in flashbacks,
Which
perhaps.
is very cool because I mean if you think about the meta-ness of Tommy Gnosis telling Hedwig's story,
That's very interesting, yeah.
I think that it adds a whole other layer. Because for me, it bothered me at first that he was so young
Sure.
and had so much energy. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like
right.
I was like, she is definitely not that. But like,
Yeah.
but then I was like, I rectified it with thinking, oh, it's different. This is not.
Right.
This is someone else telling her story. This is the other side of that, and also
That's really interesting.
also, Darren's Tommy was my favorite. All of them.
Well, because you had already identified him so much like that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. If there is a rock star, if they did a remake of the movie, Darren would have to play Tommy.
But then you had a moment where you got to make a little bit of history.
Oh yeah,
and you became Hedwig.
I did. Yeah, I did.
And now, and we have had female Hedwigs before, not a lot, but there have been a few. But this is the first time that the same person had played Yitzhak and Hedwig in the same production.
Yeah.
I mean, not the same time. I mean, it's not like some Sybil situation.
I couldn't do. Yeah, that's asking a lot.
But to have gone in to play the lead role after what, a year, more than a year of playing Yitzhak, what does that must inform your character in a way that nobody else had, other than perhaps John.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about it was I got to do basically a thesis. So I got to take everything I had learned from all of the Hedwigs I had played opposite and molded into my own take on it. And the thing about that is when you listen to a show multiple times per year, done by different people, you hear different things. So
Absolutely.
So someone will say the same line and each person will have a different take on that line. And then when you hear it spoken a different way, you hear a different meaning for the line. So for me, it was like I did a whole year of studying Hedwig and then I actually got to put it into practice. And for me,
and also find your own authentic voice in it. What is going to work for you? Yeah. Distill it all down to you.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, it was what was so important to me was telling the story and of that was written. So I made sure that if I did do any kind of improv or add anything, that it was extremely purposeful, you
Right.
know, because for me, I didn't
It's got to
have,
serve the narrative.
yeah, I didn't have the luxury of being a man.
Mhm.
So I had to sell the audience on that I used to be a boy and that I
Yeah, so
changed.
you have a completely different challenge ahead of you where a male Hedwig has the opposite issue.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, it was wild. So I had to actually go, you know, whereas the guys have to go feminine, I had to
Mm.
actually keep a lot of the male tendencies from that I had from Yitzhak. So it just
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was just
fed
gonna say that must
into,
have helped you though.
yeah, it just fed right into it. And it almost felt like Yitzhak's moments to shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like at the end when he gets the wig, you're getting that from the beginning
Yeah,
as
yeah.
Hedwig.
I'm
So it's
getting the
yeah,
show.
I never thought of it that it's sort of like a continuation of playing Yitzhak. He got the wig, curtain down, now starting, and you're Hedwig.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
it was
how did
very
it come
cool.
around? How did this whole thing come about with you playing the role? Whose idea was it? Did you have to sell people on it?
Well, they came to me because they wanted me to open the tour, and I had said goodbye to the character, and I really didn't want to go back because Yitzhak's a tough character to play. It's
Sure.
very much down in the dumps, and so I was just kind of like, well, I've done it. You know, what do I need to do it for again?
Right.
So there's got to be something new for me, or else what's the point? And so they
Right.
came back to me and they were like, well, Darren, you know, he's going to do 7 shows a week like they did on Broadway, but we have to do 8 shows because that's the subscriber. There's 8 shows a week. And so we'll have one extra show. And we were thinking you could play Hedwig for that one show. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm interested in that. Um, so they even offered me to just do 7 shows a week, so take a show off.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was an asshole to myself and was like, I'm gonna do 8 shows. What do you think? Who do you think I am? Like, I can't do 8 shows a week, please.
Thank
And
you.
that was probably the biggest mistake because I was wrecked. You know, is a lot. It was difficult, and it's like getting hit by a truck. So
Oh, yeah.
um,
But
but
how fulfilling.
amazing. Yeah, it's so
And now wait,
amazing.
we
I
got
loved
some
it.
other pictures. Now this is you?
Yeah.
I love that. And we got a couple of performance shots. This is you, I believe?
Oh, yeah.
And this one.
Yes.
I mean, what's interesting is if people go online, there are clips on YouTube. I didn't want to pull them, but it's extraordinary to see you play the role because I don't feel that I don't know if I would have guessed that it was a girl playing the role. Which I think is a great compliment, including the last scene where I'm like, how are they going to handle this? And I actually said, no, this, and then I had to look closer and see what's going on. I don't
Yeah.
want to ruin it for people, but there was like an ace bandage situation
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. They bound me. We came up with there was a bunch of things I thought like it would be really cool if I had like silver tape, like a silver cross, you know,
Oh,
so that
yeah.
it's Tommy had this big silver cross on his chest or something like
Yeah.
that. Like, and it would make sense because it's Tommy Gnosis and he had the silver cross on his
On his
forehead. So
forehead.
why not have it on his chest? And then they were like, it's kind of distracting. Da, da, da. And I was like, well, this isn't distracting, you know? So, but we went ahead and did like a bind. They did an ace bandage, which apparently is kind of dangerous, but I didn't know. But we did a bound me down with an ace bandage that was my skin color. And
Yeah, exact skin color. It
yeah,
looked amazing.
and then also I had a bulge in my pants because I was like, if I have an angry inch, I need to have an angry inch. Like I need that. That's important to the character. So while the other guys they may have tucked, I needed something there
Yeah.
to add to kind of who this character was. And then at the end of the show, for my big dress rehearsal in San Francisco, I got at the very end, I had this impetus just to get everything off of my body. And I almost was completely naked, but I stopped myself from the
Oh.
pants down. But then it became this moment of kind of empowerment to take it all off, to take the binder off and just kind of show people who I am. And to me, that was a big a moment of freedom that that was well received and came off the way I had wanted it to. Thank God. But
It really was amazing.
it was just a moment of, you know, freedom to get it
Yeah.
all off.
I think that really, I did not get to see you do the show live. So I that's why I went and looked at the clips, because I said, oh, I don't want to talk about it like I've seen it if I haven't seen it. I mean, that's where, thank God for the bootlegs that, you know, we're not supposed to like, but because
Right.
they do capture a moment in time.
Yeah, I thank God for bootlegs a lot.
You know, as long as they do them subtly and don't bother other people in the house, I'm all for them. So,
yeah.
So look, you got to get to now what you're doing now, which is amazing. Well, first, you've always had these two sides to you. There's the rocker side, there's the Broadway side,
Mhm.
and you've recorded as well. You've recorded how many CDs?
Many, many. There's a bunch. They're all online.
Yeah, I
have
mean, I was
2
losing track,
full-
I have to say.
I have 2 full length right now. And then I had a bunch of EPs. They all came out in the same year because it was all part of a series called Obsessed.
Oh, yeah,
And
right.
yeah, I had an idea to just like highlight my favorite artists and the ones who'd really kind of moved me and made me the artist I am, and just do these cover songs and these videos and release these EPs every month. So it was like a song a week.
Yeah, there's an awful lot, and they're great. And I really think that your voice actually, I don't want to even say adapts, because it's not adapts. It's really a different usage of your voice. You know, people, you know, there are people who are legit singers who try to do either pop or rock or something different, and you can always hear their training coming through. And what I hear with you is a legit rock, raw kind of voice.
Oh yeah, that's because I don't have any training.
Well,
I
clearly
have a
we
little
saw
training.
we saw the Legally Blonde. That is a legit voice there. And
Yeah,
now,
I mean, yeah.
we'll just show a clip what you're doing this week. And when is it? Thursday? Friday.
Well,
Friday.
Friday I'm doing another Obsessed show. It's called Obsessed Alanis Morissette. So
Yes.
doing all
So-
Alanis, love her.
And so let's show a clip of you singing a little Alanis. So
Ooh,
oh,
you have
there you
me
go.
burn?
Yes, I do. Well, I have something. Let's see what I have. Watch. Now I'm going to show something from you know, the Jim
That I don't know.
Steinman show. I know exactly. Hold on. Let's just be surprised and see what we get. Hold on.
I recommend putting that foot in your mouth at any time. Yeah, I certainly do. I recommend walking on the Sabado. Feel free, I say, oh, it out. Yeah, melt it down. That's what I thought. Wait until the dust settles. You learn, you love, you learn. You cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, you learn, you scream, you learn.
I love how real you are. I mean, I watched so many videos last night, and what they all have in common is you completely own what you're doing or what's happening in that moment. And that's in book musicals, that's in concert, that's in interviews. And you really, I mean, that is a fearsome kind of way to go into things for a lot of people, but it seems like really you're fearless.
I don't know. I mean, I can't, you know, things happen. I forget lyrics all the time, you know. You'll hear a lot of mumble things. If you watch a lot of live stuff where I'm like singing, you'll catch me like messing up the lyrics, just kind of making up whatever consonants I can and then getting back on or whatever. I just go with the flow, you know. At this point, I mean, I love being on stage, and I know that when someone performs and it's absolutely perfect, sure, that's amazing. But I feel like the best kind of performance is when the audience is let in on the flaws.
And the reality.
Yeah, and so if my voice cracks or if I forget a lyric or something like that, I just kind of go with it and I'll lean a little into it to get back on track.
Mhm.
Because that way I'm not in my head thinking, "Oh, I fucked that up," or I cracked. Oh my God, I sound like crap. Instead, I'm
Right.
like, I'm gonna go with that crack and I'm gonna see that crack and I'm gonna keep going in it. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna like make it a thing and moving on. And then,
And I got to get out of it.
yeah, and then it becomes a part of the show, and for me, it's just I approach recording the same way. So
Oh,
all of my
wow. recordings
recordings are pretty much one take on a
Live.
song. There's
Live
not a
in
lot
studio.
of there's really very little going in and fixing anything, because I mean, unless it was really bad. Because for me, it's important for people to hear the process. I'm flat on this note and I correct it, or the riff isn't perfect, or
Mhm.
or I say something weird, like, it's just like it's so important for me to remind people of what it sounds like for a real singer live
Right. Right.
in recording, because a lot of times recordings are so perfect, it's overly perfect, it's almost
That you
computerized.
can never live up to it.
Yeah, and well, not only that, but it's computer. It's too perfect. It's kind of boring. I like hearing the things. I like being a part of the
Yeah.
flaws.
I'm actually a big devotee of live recordings over studio because, frankly, I think that most people can make a perfect recording with 200 takes and auto
Yeah.
tune, but give me something live and that actually shows me something. The other thing, you said something earlier, which was I work with in classical music more, and I work with a lot of singers, and I always say to them, when you're worried about a section and like you're worried about hitting this note, well, now what you have guaranteed is you're going to have three problems. You're going to have the problem going up to the note because you're worried
Yeah.
that note has no chance of coming out correct.
No chance.
And then you're going to be kicking yourself afterwards. So if you just let it go and whatever happens, happens, that's only one note. Take
Yep.
the
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I did the
So
same thing. That's why I tell people, I'm like, don't worry. You got to
just let it
relax.
go.
Just have
And
fun.
trust and I think there's also something in your preparation, in your rehearsals. Trust that you have done the work.
Right. Yeah.
And it's kind of going back what we started this interview with, talking about auditions. I have friends that love auditions because they're like, I get to play. And I think that is the best attitude. If you go in and say, I'm going to do the best I can, and it's an opportunity to perform. And if you try to remember, although it's not always true, people, that the people behind the table want you to do well. They really do.
Yeah.
There are some that don't, but most people, nobody says, "Oh, I really want to sit through a bad audition." They hope they find the right person. So they're not the enemy. If anything, they're just there to see what you can do and
Yeah.
thank you and move on. So
Let everyone do it.
I think you really have the best attitude of anyone I've talked to since we started doing these shows.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah.
so this show, this Alanis Morissette show, this is on Friday. Where
This is
can
on
people get
Friday.
tickets?
You can get tickets
I
on
think it's
Gold
Broadway
Star.
World.
If you go through BroadwayWorld.com, there should be there's also ticket links on my website, which is lenahall.com. You should be
Mhm.
able to spell my name because I changed it, so it's easy.
Yeah, right.
And Instagram, Lena Rocker Hall. Yeah, I have a link to the tickets in my bio. I'm also doing a weekly show. And my weekly shows are, and I'll have the kind of a similar format where I do them all on Zoom because I like having connection with people, even though
So
it's
you
a
actually
concert.
interact with them. Wow.
I'm interacting with people. Yes, correct. I prefer that because otherwise you're just watching a stream. It's not quite as engaging.
Live-ish.
It's not quite as live and quite as engaging. And if
Yeah.
you include everyone in your show and you can see them, you can
Yep.
see their reaction, you can see what's going on. It's way fun. And so Alanis is going to be, there's a VIP tier of tickets, and that's going to be in a Zoom room with me. The rest
They'll
of
be the
tickets
ones
will be
that
on
can
YouTube.
interact that you can see and all that.
Correct. And there's going to be, there's going to be trivia, and there'll be chances to win tickets to my other shows, which are my weekly shows, which I call Virtually Live. And basically the shows that I do weekly, and you can find tickets again on my website, are
LenaHall.com.
yeah. So the themes are picked by the audience the week before.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and then also there's a full like group song choice that happens
Mhm.
during the show. So the final song is actually picked by everybody there.
Oh,
And-
so that is really live right in that moment.
Yeah, and then not only that, the whole show is actually picked. All the songs are picked by the audience. So
Wow.
you buy a VIP, you buy not a VIP, a song request ticket, and then you request 3 songs to me that are in the theme of the show that they had picked the week before,
Uh-huh.
and then I sing one of those 3 songs, and so they build my set list, and then I talk to the song requesters. And I ask them why they
Oh,
picked
wow.
certain songs, and
Oh, so
and
it
then we
really
have fun.
becomes interactive.
It's very, very interactive. It's so much fun. It is like so
Wow.
much fun. So, and everybody, it's the same. The last week, my request tickets sold out in 5 minutes.
Oh, God. And what have the different themes been?
Last time was glam rock. This week,
Oh, wow.
it's movie songs. Songs that are in movies.
Mhm.
We did grunge.
Oh, wow.
We did. I did a theme for Gay Pride, so it was
Mhm.
like all Pride themes. So whatever that meant to you, and we'll do a musical theater theme, I'm sure. We've done 6 so far. The first one, of course, was all songs that I chose because I needed to get
As it should
started,
be.
and then from there, it's been everybody else has been picking the songs. So. Those are really fun, and I post about those all the time. You can see highlights on my Instagram from those shows, and we
Mhm.
have a really good time. I play with all my backgrounds, and it's just a blast. So the Alanis Morissette show will be sort of on those similar lines, except there's no requests,
Right.
but it'll be fun trivia that everybody can do, and win tickets to my other live shows that are weekly.
Cool. That sounds like, again, you said you've only done 6. So when did you start doing these? Was this just 6 weeks ago?
8 weeks ago, because there was 1 week where I couldn't do it. I had to be in the city, and then there was the second week, which was last week.
Uh-huh.
There was a blackout, and I was
Oh, yes, I heard.
I had no power, no internet for 5 days, so I couldn't.
Where are
do so.
you?
But
Where are you quarantining?
currently, I'm in Connecticut. My
Okay.
husband and I, we had bought a house last year.
Mhm.
Instead of having a big wedding, we bought a house instead.
Good for you.
And here
I
we
have a
are. It was the
friend-
best thing we have ever done.
I have a friend that's planning her daughter's wedding for next year, and
Mhm.
just in passing asked how much this is going to cost. And when they told me, I'm like, that is more than I put down for a down payment on my condo in Florida. So I'm like,
Forget
for
it.
a party, like, just give me the cash. Thank you.
Yeah. We were like, let's forget it. Let's buy a house, because we found the house that we had wanted. Like, this is the house of our dreams. So
How close to New York? I assume you can
we're
get into
2
the city.
hours. Yeah,
All
we're
right, that's not so bad.
2-hour drive. It's not terrible. My husband's business just started picking up, so he's a real estate agent, and so now he's had to be in the city a lot, which is
Wow.
great.
Yes, especially since nothing else is going on.
Right. But I found that these virtual shows are really helping me keep track of time. They're helping pay some bills, and I really encourage other performers to do something like this. Their own version would be
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
Oh God, no! I was just gonna say I've said this repeatedly, but when Seth Rudetsky and James started doing their 2 a day because they're insane, they were the ones that told me. I said they're great shows, and they're like, "So why aren't you doing a show?" And I'm like, I'm watching. Like at the time, we were like, "Well, let's provide entertainment." But what it's done on the other side is it's actually given me a schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
Because for those of us who are performers or writers or whatever, we're not used to, if you don't have any schedule, nothing will get done.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely. I'm same way, same way. So for
So I'm
me,
sitting here thinking, oh, well, it must be Tuesday because I just did a show. So
yeah, it's so for me, this is a great marker of time. And everyone who comes, they keep coming back, and it's their Thursday night thing. I didn't do a show last Thursday, but I ended up having the Zoom room with everyone
oh,
anyway. So
wow.
we talked and we got to know each other more, and we laughed and told stories, and and that was really very special because it just includes everyone that much more, and it made me appreciate them even more, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. It also
um
sounds like you have found something good that has come out of this for you.
yeah, I love it. I love it. The only thing I really have to do is I have to set up kind of like a cabaret, like a space. I was thinking
Yeah.
of even opening like a virtual performance, like a venue, and
Oh, and
all my
having
friends
booking people. Yeah.
having all my friends do what I'm doing, and booking shows for them. So,
Well,
uh,
I have
we'll
friends
see.
I have friends in LA who actually owned a studio space
Mhm.
and it's their own space. They're comedians, but what they've been doing is every couple weeks they're bringing in either singers or other performers because like, we have this space, we've got 3 cameras. So if you want to do a show, it's weird because you don't have an audience, but at least you can work. And I think everyone is finding these incredibly creative ways to stay in touch with people and sort of, I don't want to say stay relevant, but it's sort of stay sane.
Yeah, exactly. I really encourage other artists to just lean into something, and not hold their breath for live theater, because not only that, live theater will come back, but then
Yeah.
you'll have this other thing going on as well, and that
Well,
is
you said that
key
during when you
to
were doing the show that you all that Kinky Boots, that you used the time and suddenly learned how to edit videos.
you gotta do yourself a favor and find other avenues. And there's so much out there: podcasts, of
Writing.
interview show, writing. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do. You don't just have to perform, and this is also performative. So
Yeah, I
you
think
can
that
do
is
that as
so
well.
smart. And I think that you're also going to learn more stuff about yourself the more you try, because you might say, "Oh, I never thought of doing this," but
Yeah,
you'll do it. Do you write as well? Because you're so creative.
kinda. It's
The hell does that
it's
mean?
like I've been writing 2 movie scripts for forever. You know, there's a weird thing about writing, and there's no schedule, so I feel weird about it. Like there's no immediate money, and that to
It
me
is
is
hard.
odd. Like I'm like, I don't understand how this works.
And there's not an
Uh,
immediate deadline either.
yeah, which is tough because I need a
That's
deadline. But like,
me too.
yeah, that, and then I'll write little songs for people, but they're never any good. I mean, it's just like me. It's like children's music, you know what I mean? It's like that. It's like me writing about my dog and her nails, and
Someone
as they
has to
scratch
write
my
about
legs.
your dog. What
Yeah,
kind of dog
so
do you have?
a Great Dane.
Oh my God, you're a little bit of a thing with this big dog.
She's nuts. Yeah. And anyway, I do have to use the restroom.
Yes, I know. I've seen you squirm. So so let me just
Just-
remind people though, again, go to lenahall.com. It seems like she's got a million things going on. So definitely go there. Lena, I want to thank you for doing this. I know that we
Thanks
went
for
long, but
having
you were
me.
so fascinating. We didn't get to any television or anything else, but we
Well,
stuck with the Broadway. Well, we'll have to have you back.
we'll have to do it again.
All right. Honey, thank you for doing this. Stay safe and
course.
everyone go see her.
I will.
Thanks,
Thank
Lena.
you
Take
too.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Everybody, we will see you on Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We have Fran Drescher is going to be here. We've got Max von Essen is going to be here. Oh my God, we have so many people coming up. Next week, reunion week. You won't even believe. If I told you who's coming, maybe Thursday, I'll tell you about Tuesday's show. Maybe. Who knows? I think that's it. That's all I have to tell you. Yeah. Oh my God. I just got an email. an email that I can't tell you about, but I'll tell you about it on Thursday because it's something that's going on tomorrow. So if this really happens, this email, then I'll tell you about it on Thursday. Okay, thank you for watching. This has been Billy Masters Live. I am Billy Masters. And remember, if we're here, we're live. Take care. Bye-bye, everyone.